With this episode, that's one more type Ash is now captured. He's almost all the way there. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, episode 112 of the Sun and Moon anime just dropped, and this episode is a Rowlet and Meltan focused one. How did it go? Well, let's find out. The episode begins with Ash, Kukui, and Burnett talking to Professor Oak. He tells them that he has found more about the Pokemon that they gave him information on. He's calling it Meltan. And, just like Ash and Co predicted, it's a steel type. While this is going on, Ash's Pokemon are all eating some fruits, and Meltan, who was in Ash's backpack at the end of last episode, gets up and sees a pan in the kitchen counter and starts heading towards it to eat it. Rowlet spots it before it can eat the whole thing and puts it back in its bag, kind of scolding it for eating the pan. Ash and Co say goodbye to Professor Oak and get ready to go to the Pokemon school. When Ash puts Rowlet in the backpack, he hears what he thinks is noise coming from it, but when he looks, he doesn't really find anything. So, he and Kukui leave the house. When Burnett goes back in, she finds the half-eaten pan and wonders, was this a wormhole? A new species has been discovered. I got a Meltan. In the Pokemon school, Ash is telling his friends about the information that Professor Oak gave to him about Meltan. As they're discussing it, it seems like Sophocles spots a Meltan when he's looking for it, but turns out it's just Lana in a Meltan costume, spinning head and all. But they're optimistic that maybe Lana's costume will lure out the Meltans. Below the class at the Ultra Guardian base, Clefable is struggling with trying to get all of the Meltan to stop from eating the electronics. Back in class, Kukui comes in and tells them that they're gonna have Pokemon battles today. Everyone is fired up. Ash wants to battle Kiawe, Mallow wants to battle Lana, and Lily wants to battle Sophocles. Ash tries to get his Rowlet to get up, but he's sleeping really deeply, so he just lets him be and leaves with the rest of his team. A little time passes by and Meltan gets up and tries to wake up Rowlet. But when it does, Rowlet just flies away to another location and goes back to sleep. Meltan then follows it and spins it on its head to try to get it to wake up. But while it's doing that, a Murkrow spots the Meltan from a distance and sees it just as a shiny object and swoops down to go grab it. Rowlet wakes up and sees that his friend is being taken away and flies towards the Murkrow and kicks it to save the Meltan. He does, and it's successful, but it seems like Meltan has now literally lost its head. We then go to Team Rocket, who are trying to fix their van so they can now sell their new menu item, the 3-in-1 Combi Donuts. However, their car has a metal part that's been cracked off that they need to replace. Meowth looks up in the sky and wishes that one would just fall from the sky as a figure of speech, but just as he's looking up, Meltan's nut lands directly in Meowth's face, causing him to screech. James grabs it and marvels at the golden nut and tries it in the car and it works. They fix their van, allowing them to go to the cinema where they plan to sell their donuts. We then go back to Rowlet and Meltan. Meltan is grief-stricken over its head and Rowlet can't bear to see it sad, so it tries to replace the metal with a berry. However, Meltan's not amused and tells Rowlet that it needs something circular. So Rowlet brings it a bunch of things like a roll of tape, a tin can, a sponge, but nothing really works for Meltan. Not even a tambourine, which at first it looks like it's gonna work, but it doesn't. Rowlet doesn't want to see his friend sad, so he gets determined to help Meltan get its head back and starts picking it up to fly away. Back in the school, Kiawe is battling in a 3v3, and we see that it nicely animated attacks, although most of them don't amount to much in terms of attacking someone. After a bit, the bell rings and it's the end of battle practice. As Ash returns his Pokemon, he thanks Kiawe for the great battle. Kiawe then asks Ash a great question. What is he gonna do now that he's finished all of the island challenges? But before Ash can answer that, he spots his Rowlet flying in the air, but doesn't really spot the Meltan and says goodbye to everyone before going after it. I'm really glad that the show brought this up. What is Ash gonna do? I mean, we as the audience know that Ash is gonna be in a Pokemon League battle sooner or later. However, him as the character doesn't know that yet. Sure, Kukui has told him in the past that he wanted to build a Pokemon League, but he hasn't told him how far along the league is or how long it'll take before they can participate. I'm actually glad that this show is acknowledging that realistically, Ash has no reason to still be in Alola, but I guess that question will be answered later once Kukui reveals that the league is on. Who's that Pokemon? It's Clefable! Clefable's grabbed all the Meltans and put them in a group near a box. It also has some of the metal pieces that are broken off in its hand when it notices that the Meltan are intently staring at the metal piece on its hand. It moves the metal in the other direction to confirm that they like metal, and when it does, her suspicion is confirmed and gives her a good idea. Meanwhile in the streets, Rowlet is zipping through the air before slowing down because it overexerted itself, while Meltan is looking out for its head. Then, Rowlet smells that delicious smell of freshly baked honey donuts and starts flying towards it. Me too, young Rowlet. Meowth is advertising their donut, but it seems no one is there. Turns out, the cinema just started a 6-hour movie, so no one's gonna be outside. What movie is 6 hours long? That's watching Gone with the Wind twice. Jesse brings up the Meltan that ate James' bottle cap, and James is seething with vengeance. Meowth even says that James right there is as scary as Mimikyu. Meowth then, just like before, wishes that the Meltan thing would just fall from its head. Of course, they don't know what it is, but they wish that it would fall, and this time, Meltan's head falls directly on Meowth's face. The tambourine that was in Meltan's face flies off and Wobblefoot catches it, giving us a nice performance before Meowth lets Jesse and James know that he was hit in the face by the Meltan. However, unlike before, its head is a little different. Its face has now been replaced by a donut, and Rowlet lands next to it on the pile of donut before smelling it to start eating. Jesse and James wonder if that's Ash's Rowlet, and Meowth's upset at them for eating the donut and goes for a Fury Swipe. But when Meltan dodges, it goes crashing in slow motion to a van, causing the Meltan's nut that had been secured in the car's hood to somehow get out, and Meltan replaces its head and it looks happy. Just then, Jesse and James are able to confirm that it's the same Meltan, so they hurry inside their van, shorten their motto, and switch to their rocket clothes. That's pretty hilarious. James is really seething and he starts going after the Meltan with a net, but Rowlet grabs the Meltan and flies in the air before using Seed Bomb on James, which, if you remember from episode 97, is made up of rock, Everstones to be precise, and knocks James out. I don't know why, but when this happened, I burst out laughing. I couldn't stop laughing for a while. That's great slapstick. After this, though, things take a turn for the dramatic, as Meowth decides it's gonna attack, and Ultra Instinct style dodges all of Rowlet's Razor Leaves before attacking it. Just before it can hit Meltan, though, Rowlet takes the hit from Meowth, protecting his friend. Meowth then relentlessly attacks until it's tired, but Rowlet is still protecting Meltan. Then, just as Meowth is about to finish off Rowlet with one mighty Fury Swipe, Meltan jumps in, taking the Fury Swipe hit, and with great anger and furious vengeance, using a massive flash cannon that knocks out Meowth. Jessie is also terrified, and she gets it next. Stuffle comes up and starts poking them before Beware throws them on top of the van and puts Stuffle in the front seat, making it feel like it's driving, before picking up the van and running with it. That was also great. Ashton catches up with Rowlet and sees that it's beat up. He questions what happened before the Meltan reveals itself to him. He takes it to the Pokemon school and everyone's gathered around looking at it. Ash tells Kukui that he found Meltan and how Rowlet is taking care of it. They want to help look for his friend, but they don't know how to get started. Just then, however, Clefable comes up from the elevator from downstairs, and following it is a group of Meltan. It seems like Clefable's almost militarily trained them to do as they want, as he choreographs some things that normal Meltans usually wouldn't do. It's ridiculous, but in a good way, and the way he did it is through giving them metal as reward. The group of Meltans then start to spin their head in resonance, but it seems like this Meltan wants to stay with Rowlet, so it waves goodbye to its buddy. Ash then asks Meltan if it wants to join him and pulls out a Pokeball. Rowlet tells Meltan that it should join Ash, so Ash throws a Pokeball at Meltan, only for it to get stuck on its head. Good try, Ash, but in the second time, Ash throws a perfect Pokeball and catches the Meltan. When he brings it out, the Meltan starts hugging the Rowlet again, and that's the end of the episode. The after credits scene is Burnett seeing Meltan and talking about how it ate the pan and telling it it's alright that it ate this one, but it shouldn't eat the other one. This was a surprisingly good episode. From the preview last week, I expected a nice little episode where Meltan somehow loses its head and Rowlet helps look for it. And while that was what the episode was, the way they executed it made it much better than I expected. Of course, there are questions like how did Meltan's head come flying off the van when it was clearly secured inside the hood? That's never explained, and neither is how Rowlet got all those things as a replacement. But we aren't supposed to question those things. Those are just cartoon logic, and it works. With lots of slapstick humor, cartoon violence, this is one of those episodes that makes use of Pokemon as the main characters, and it does it well. If you were planning on skipping it based off the preview, I implore you to give it a second chance. It might surprise you. The next episode looks like it's a quiz show for Sophocles that somehow turns into a movie shoot for Lana, Lily, and Mallow. It looks interesting, so I can't wait to see what it is. But anyways, that's it for my Pokemon Sun and Moon episode 112 review. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at TheRealPD Gaming, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.